Hi everyone, welcome to today's session. This is our session number 3. In this session, we are going to start a new topic, SAP Enterprise Structure. This is what we are going to discuss. And when it comes to technical aspects, this topic number three, we will discuss after this topic, we will discuss later on. Because as you can see in this topic, we have database tables, configuration tables, and all. So once we are ready with configuration and data, then it will be easy to understand these technical aspects. That is the reason why this will be discussed later on. Okay. So now what we are going to do is, let's start with enterprise structure. So here we will try to understand what is enterprise structure and its significance. So for this, let's consider this one. So now let's assume we are working for Tata Motors, all right? So as we know, Tata Motor is one of the business or companies of Tata group of companies, right? So Tata, under the umbrella of Tata group of companies, a number of businesses are run, like Tata Motors, then Tata Consulting Services, Tata Steel, Tata Communication, right? So generally, we call a group of companies, right? So like Tata group of companies. So in SAP, group of companies is represented as company, and individual businesses is represented as company code, right? So as we know that in order to run automotive business, Tata group of companies have registered one company, Tata Motors Limited. Under this company, uh, they have they run only automotive business. They don't run any other business. Similarly, under the name of Tata Consulting Services, it provides only IT consulting services. It doesn't provide automotive services, right? And then Tata Steel and Communication. So as you can see here, for different purposes, for different businesses, Tata group of companies have registered different businesses. So if let's assume Tata group of companies has decided to implement SAP, right, for all its different businesses. So in order to use SAP, this group will be represented as company in SAP and individual businesses. All right. So these individual businesses are represented as company code. So here we are just trying to understand the concept of company and company code in SAP. And another important point here, as you can see, for different nature of business, different companies are registered. So for each business is represented with a company code, right? So the Tata Motor is, in order to use Tata Motors, we will be creating a different company code. And similarly, if we are planning to implement SAP for TCS, then a different company code, right? So different company code. So as here we can say, as the nature of business changes, they have different business of the business, and then for different business, different company code. So we will be discussing in detail what is company code. Here we are just trying to first understand the concept of enterprise structure, right? So in enterprise structure, we will come across these terms. That is the reason why we are discussing here. Now take another scenario of Amazon, right? So Amazon group of companies, right, which is US based. So the main business of Amazon is online shopping, right? Online portal they have. And Amazon has presence in India Amazon has presence in Dubai, USA, UK, and in different countries. So as you can see here, in this case, nature of business is same. However, when a company decides to run any business in any company, that company has to register within that country. So in with Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Amazon has to register if Amazon would like to run its business in India. So Amazon has registered, and that is the reason why we see Amazon India Private Limited. Similarly, in order to do business in Dubai, they have Amazon Dubai LLC like this. So for each country, they have a different business, and then for different business, different company code. So right, so even though nature of business is same, but they are carrying out in different different countries. So as the country changes, currency changes, tax structure changes, and so many other parameters changes. So that is the reason why business of each company is represented with a company code. So here we have considered two scenarios, and in the second scenario, the nature of business is same, but they are carrying out businesses in different countries. And in the Tata Group scenario, the nature of business is different, but carrying out in India itself, in same country. All right. So in both cases, company code varies. So now it's easy to understand enterprise structure. Look at this structure. Let's say here I have mentioned like IDS. Let's say this is Amazon. Okay, so Amazon, runs its business in different countries and continents. For example, like here just mentioned Europe and North America, right? And in Europe, again in different countries like in France, Germany, UK, and other countries. So as you can see here, for each country, company code. So the business of each country is represented with a company code, and in that business, they have different departments, and those departments are represented as organizational units. So what we are trying to do is we are just trying to compare industry term with SAP term. Okay, because in industries we call company, right? A particular business we call it as a company, but that company is represented as a company code in SAP. In industry term, group of companies is we call it as group of companies, but in SAP it is called as company. So this is what the comparison we are doing, and then as and when required, I'm going to elaborate on all these organizational units. Okay. So similarly, now let's go to this particular plant. Okay. So manufacturing facility, if we take into consideration manufacturing industry, then from manufacturing industry point of view, a production plant or manufacturing facility is called as plant in SAP. Okay, so that manufacturing facility is represented as plant in SAP, and the storage location within the manufacturing facility where products are stored, that are called as storage location. For example, if we take into consideration Tata Motors, right? So Tata Motor is a very well-known company here, as we know. So so Tata Motors has its manufacturing facilities in Pune, Jamshedpur, Chennai, and some other cities. So these manufacturing facilities are represented as plant. So one manufacturing facility is represented as one plant. Okay. So what is plant and all that, we will go one by one. So here just trying to understand um, enterprise structure. Right. So similarly, sales organization, purchasing organization. So here we can say that um, in procurement department, the whole procurement department, we have the procurement manager or procurement head, and then head, procurement manager, and then we can say procurement officer, and then procurement clerk. All these different positions are there, right? So in procurement, manager and above are considered as purchasing organization in MM, and below manager like procurement officer and the procurement clerk, who are responsible for their day-to-day business transactions, they are considered as purchasing group. So that those are organizational elements of MM that we will discuss as well. So similarly, SD and all. So this whole hierarchy of business we will be representing in SAP, but there is a slight change in terminology that we need to understand. Okay, so what is this enterprise structure? And enterprise structure is the structure that represents an enterprise. As we know, the general meaning of enterprise means a business, all right, and a legal entity which is carrying out business, right, or a company. So an enterprise structure is the structure that represents an enterprise in the SAP system, right? So here, as we know, for our EWM training, we will be using both decentralized EWM connected with ECC, decentralized EWM connected with S4 HANA, as well as embedded EWM, right? So when after launching S4 HANA, if we are using SAP ERP, meaning before S4 HANA, ERP was referred to ECC, right? So now we can say that there are two ERP business suites provided by SAP. One is SAP ECC, which is also ERP system, and SAP S4 HANA, and this is also ERP system, right? So when we say SAP ERP system, means both. And the company may be using ECC or S4 HANA, but and it is applicable to both. So, right. So, an enterprise structure is the structure that represents an enterprise in the SAP ERP system. It may be ECC or S4 HANA. Okay. So, it is subdivided into various organizational units for legal reasons or business related reasons. Okay. So enterprise structure is a representation of legal and organizational structure of the company, right? So, and it helps to map company's structure into SAP. It's nothing but in order to use SAP for any business, we need to maintain this hierarchy in SAP. Then only we can use. Otherwise, how we can use, right? So that is the meaning of that particular sentence. Okay. So if we look at here, right? So when we, at the micro level, can you see here, we have company code, which is nothing but we are representing a business like a Tata Motors, right? So let's say we are Tata Motor company is represented as a company code here, and then all the manufacturing facilities of Tata Motor is considered as plant, right? So here we can see plant, storage location, plant, storage location who are mentioned. Let me take another example. Yes, I think this is more clear. We have company code, and in this business or the company code, we may have a number of manufacturing facilities, and those manufacturing facilities are represented as plant, right? And within manufacturing facility, we have the places where raw materials, components, and finished products are stored. So those places are represented as storage location in SAP. Similarly, as discussed, the whole procurement department is divided into two like purchasing organization and purchasing group we have. So similarly, the whole sales department is divided into we have sales organization, distribution channel, and division. So as you can see, this side from plant, storage location, purchasing organization, these are MM organizational units, which we will be discussing tomorrow. And then sales organization, distribution channel, division, sales office, sales group. These are SD organizational unit, which we will discuss after. Organizational structure. Today, we will start with client, company, company code. We first try to understand, and all these, whatever you see here, these are FICO organizational units. So first we need to use SAP for any company. We need to make sure that we have the company code, right? We have the company code available. We need to first define company code for our business. Then only rest of the organization will come into picture, because this is the organizational unit which we require. So here, this is the concept of we have. So yesterday we discussed about client. I'm going to summarize the same thing, client. So as here, what is client, right? So what it contains. So here we can say client is a customer in SAP. We can say that each customer maps to one client. Within one SAP instance, a number of clients can be created. So what does it contain? So it contains application data, it contains customization data, it contains master data. So whenever we log in, so here we see client number. So even for our S4 HANA system, let me show you even the decentralized one. So whenever we are trying to log in any SAP business suite, so here is the client, right? So this is the client which we already discussed. Just to summarize, so here this in this infographics, this client is same as what we discussed, this client, right? So in landscape architecture, we have different systems, and in these systems, as per business requirement, basis consultants maintain a number of clients. And as we can see here, we are using 800 clients, which is for training purpose, right? So similarly, a number of clients are defined, and under that client, we have different organizational units, right? So now let's move to next organizational unit. So this training is all about SAP EWM, right? So but in order to use SAP EWM, we required a number of organizational units. What is organizational unit? We will see. So the organizational units which are required, only those organizational units we are discussing. We are not discussing about all the organizational units, because we are responsible for EWM, right? For example, a number of organizational units are there. Let me show you here. For different modules, we have different organizational units. Like for FICO, we have these many organizational units. So this is the FICO organizational structure. In this organizational structure, we have these many organizational units. But out of these, we need to know, we will be discussing about company and we will be discussing about company and company code, right? We will not be discussing others, because in real time, FICO consultants are responsible for defining and maintaining these organizational units. Similarly, for CO, these many, and from point of view, there are 4 organizational units like plant, storage location, purchasing organization, and purchasing group. Since EWM is closely integrated with SD, and logistics execution, that is the reason why we will be discussing in detail about organizational unit, SD organizational units, and logistics execution. Okay, so wherever required, we will be discussing. For example, we don't require organizational unit of HCM organizational units or PP organizational units, so we will not be discussing them. Okay, so this is about enterprise structure, which we just discussed. Now we are discussing about, so when we combine, let me open again. I think that file is just closed. Let me open this enterprise structure again here. Enterprise structure. Yeah, enterprise structure, right? So what we are actually doing, we are actually representing this company structure into SAP, right? So in order to represent them, we have different departments, and for different departments, we have different modules, right? And in different modules, we have organizational units. So here, please pay attention. You can see that. Let me zoom this one for more clarity. Right. So here, in this case, right, can you see here, we have client, we just discussed. And in this client, we have operating concern, then controlling area, credit control area, and then company. So here, operating concern, controlling area, credit control, company code, these are all our organizational FICO organizational unit. So here we just try to understand the concept. What does it mean? How it impacts, right? And now if we closely look at our MM and SD, so in this client, we have controlling area. In the controlling area, we have company code, this one, right? And in the company code, we have many plants or the production plants, right? And then in order to carry out procurement for these plants, we have the purchasing organization and purchasing group. And similarly, to sell finished product, we have sales organization, right? So for every module, we have different organizational units. So when we combine them, for example, here, can you see here, we have in the client, we have company code, right? And company code is assigned, the plant is assigned to company code. Similarly, a purchasing organization is assigned to company code. Sales organization is assigned to company code. So which shows a link between these organizational units. Okay. So now, yeah, we discussed. Now let's go to the organizational structure. For every module in SAP, as we know, for every department, we have a different module. And for every module, we have organizational units, so that when we define and assign those organizational units, this type of enterprise structure will be ready, which we just discussed here. This is enterprise structure will be created. So let's move to 100%. Right, now move to organizational structures. Okay, so organizational structure is the base for any SAP implementation. So what happened, for every module, we have the structure. And without that structure, we cannot use SAP. So for example, this is the structure for FI module. This is a structure for FI module. So the highest level here, we can say company, then operating concern, charts of account, and then all those things, almost 9. So if we would like to use FI module, then these organizational units must be defined. Similarly, CO. And when it comes, hello, yes, any question? All right. So here, for example,
sorry, sir, I have joined late today because there is a lot of traffic here.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. It's
sorry,
okay.
Sir, sorry for the interruption.
Okay. So in order to use MM module, these organizational units are required. So without these organizational units, we cannot use MM module. Similarly, for EWM, for our module, we have these organizational units, and for SD and all. So, so here, right? Can you see here? We have this materials management. For materials management module, we have here, I think only plant and storage location is mentioned. We also have purchasing organization and purchasing group, and for sales organization. So every, as you can see, every organization unit is assigned to company code. Okay, so now what we are trying to understand is, let's first understand this one. What is company code from this enterprise structure point of view? Uh, Mr. Sridhar, just to answer your question is what is FICO, right? So like we have for procurement MM module, for warehouse management EWM module. Similarly, for accounts and finance, we have FICO module. Okay, so if you remember, yesterday we will discuss about different modules here. Let me show you again here in our business suites here, which we discussed. So what we discussed here, yes. So for different departments, we have different modules. For different departments, we have different modules. Like for procurement department, we have materials management module. For manufacturing or production department, we have production planning. Similarly, for accounts and finance, we have FICO module. Okay, I believe that answered your question, Mr. Sridhar. Right, so we were discussing about, yeah. So now we are first trying to understand what is company, sorry, business processes, enterprise structure. I think. Let me open that. That was closed. Yeah. Right. So what we are trying to, one by one, we are discussing. So now first we try to understand what is company, then company code. So here we have company. All right. So as I just discussed, group of companies in industries, we use the term group of companies. So that group of company is represented as company in SAP. So as you can see here, we have a group of companies, and it is represented as company in SAP, and individual businesses of this company is represented as company codes. So let's say ABC group of companies, it runs apparel business, shoe business, service, and other things. Like Tata group of companies, it runs Tata Motors, TCS, then Tata Steel, Tata Telecom, and all. So this is called as company. And this company, this particular organizational unit, this is FICO organizational unit, and it is an optional organizational unit in SAP S4 HANA. Earlier it was mandatory, but in S4 HANA it is optional. If FICO consultants, if they want to create, they can maintain it. Otherwise, it is not required. So the definition of company in SAP system is optional. Okay, so the company is an independent organizational element which is required to consolidate two or more company codes data at country level or segment level or continental level. Okay, under group company, you generate consolidated financial statements as per requirements of an organization. For example, we have Amazon group of companies, Tata group, Reliance group, Walmart. So this group is represented as a company in SAP. So now let's go and define our own company for demonstration purpose, but in real time, respective consultants are responsible for their organizational units. For example, like you see company code and other, so it comes under FI organizational structure. So FI consultant is responsible for it. So similarly, a CO consultant, EWM, like this. But for our practice, we require these organizational units. That is the reason why we will define and use them. So let's go to this one, and let's see how it works. Let me log in to the SAP with this user. We will use both. So let me try in a remote desktop. So here we have, let me log in. So we will be using the latest server of SAP S4 HANA 2020. So let's log in this SAP S4 HANA 2020.